All right, so in the last video, we had the ability to reply to comments. And now in this video, we're going to start wrapping things up. This course has gotten pretty long, and I think we are going to wrap it up, hopefully in this video. So what do we need to do? First of all, we are going to, when we go to our profile, we want to come here and we want to show all, I guess we're just going to do the liked tweets that we have below. So that's one thing we're going to do. And then also we are going to add the ability to follow a different user. And I think that's going to do it for us. I don't think we'll rewrite this whole thing and have it where we are only showing tweets from people that we follow. So you can go ahead and do that on your own if you want. But we'll just follow some users, and then we can see who we're following and show their profiles and stuff. So that's all we got for this video, and hopefully it'll be our last one. So we got a lot to do, and let's get right into it. All right, so come over to your schema.prisma here, and this is where we're going to start. So we're going to do all our backend stuff, and then we'll move over to the front and start showing it over there. So the first thing we want to do right now is get a new model. So let's copy one of them over. This like tweets will do. So copy this down here. And instead of liked tweet here, we're going to say following. Okay. And then we are going to use some different things here. So we can get rid of everything in here. And we will just start over. So here we're going to go name. And name is going to be a string. Okay, and then we're going to have an avatar of the person we're following, and that's going to be a string. And then we are going to have a follow ID, and that's going to be the ID of the person we're following, and that's going to be an int. Okay, and then we are also going to have a user. So when we bring this in, following, where's our user? Up here. So our user is here, and we want to come down below this, and we are going to say following. And that's going to be an array of users that we are following. So go ahead and save that. And when we save that, we can come down to the following. It adds the user ID and the user relation for us. So make sure you have those as well. And that is all we need for this. So now let's come in here. We're going to get a new window going here. Make sure you're in your server folder as usual. So cd into that and give ourselves maybe a little more room here. And we are going to go npx Prisma migrate, and that is going to be save and -- experimental. And we're going to name this migration. We're going to say following. And that looks like it worked fine. And then we are just going to push it up again as we have been doing with the up command. All right, that's looking good. Exit out of this. We don't need this for now. Now let's go on and to the rest of our backend and start adding some things. So we have our different types here. We're going to have a new type. So come in here. We're going to go following.ts. And we can copy over one of these. Let's just go comment here. Give ourselves a little base to work from. Boom. Come in here, paste it in, and we're going to start to transfer this over. So we're going to say following. And then in here, we're going to have some different stuff. So we can get rid of, I think, everything in here. Okay, so get rid of that, and then copy this down a few times actually, and we'll just change these fields over. So instead of that, we're going to have user. Instead of this here, we will have name, and just these are just the fields that we added on the schema, of course. So avatar, and then let's copy down one more here for the follow ID. Okay, we got all these red. Obviously, we haven't generated anything or restarted our server, so that is fine. But before we do that, we want to come into our user here. And in here, we just want to add one more thing. So come down here, and we are going to say following. Okay, make sure we save all these. Now we want to export it. So come into our index.ts, come down here, and we are going to say following. Go ahead and save that. And that is about it for that. So let's open up our terminal here, come over to your server. It's going to say it needs to be restarted. Let's Control C and close that. And we're going to go npx Prisma generate our schema. That's looking good. And then we'll say npm run dev, start it up again. All right, perfect. Now, what we want to do here are going to be mutations. The following, we're going to have a follow and an unfollow. So we can close out all these. As you can see, these are these don't have errors anymore. So those are good. We can get rid of this. We don't need that. We don't need that. All right, so come over to your mutation here, and we just want to see where this ends, and we're just going to copy this down. We're going to have two mutations in here. One of them is going to be for creating a following, which will be the user we're following, and the other one will be deleting that. So come down, let's change some of these over. We're just going to call it follow, and that's going to be from following as our type. Then we're going to have a few things in here. Instead of content, we're going to have name. Instead of ID, we are going to have follow ID. And that's going to be an int, which is good. And it's going to be nullable. That's fine. This can be nullable too. And then finally, we are going to have our avatar. So it's going to be avatar. And that's actually going to be a string. String arg. All right, so those are looking good. Now let's come down here. We'll change some of these over. So again, name. This is going to be a follow ID. And then this comment ID, we're going to change to avatar. All right, those are looking good. Now let's come down a little more. And we're going to have ctx.prisma.following. Okay, and that's going to be .create. And then come down into our data here, and we're going to have, again, same fields. So name. Below that, we are going to have avatar. Below that, we will have follow ID. Just like that. And then we want to get rid of this, but we do want to keep the user one. So we're going to attach it to ourselves so we know who we're following, basically. All right, and do not forget your commas here. So make sure we have that, and then our error will go away. So that is looking good. You gotta maybe restart your server here. So let's do that. Okay, restart that. It's working good. And I think that is all we need to do on our backend. All right, so that is looking good for our follow. Now, we also want to have a delete the follow or remove the follow mutation. So let's come up here. Let's just search. Yeah, I know we got delete in here. Delete like. Let's copy this bad boy over. And then just come down to the bottom here. See where that ends. And let's paste this in below. And we'll just kind of transfer it over again for our purposes. So come in here. Delete follow, and that is gonna be from the following, of course. And then these args can be the same. We're just gonna pass in the ID of the following that we want to delete. So that's good. The ID can stay the same. We still want to check if we're authenticated. We do want to change this over, so that'll be following, and then the where can stay the same. So that's all good. Go ahead and save that. And probably restart your server again. Get a little tedious, but oh well. All right, so go ahead and do that, and that should be good. And that is all we need to do for our backend, basically for this whole course. So we can get rid of this and basically get rid of our backend for now, unless we mess something up. So let's move on to the website. Okay, so in this front end, we are going to have a few different things that we got to do to get this going. So the first thing we want to do is come into components here, new file, and we are going to call this follow user.tsx. Okay, let's get rid of this real quick, and let's go RFC, get a functional component scaffolded here, and it will just say follow user. That is good. Now let's just come in and start doing this, banging this out. So let's go const, we'll say follow underscore user underscore query. Okay, and that is going to equal GQL, and bring that in, and we will go backticks, come down here, close off those backticks, and come in here, and we're going to say mutation, and we'll just say follow because that's what we called it, and then pass in the different values that we have. All right, so this is what our mutation is going to look like. We're going to call it follow user query, and then we're going to be calling the follow mutation that we set up in our mutations file. So we have a follow ID, an avatar, and a name, and we're just returning the ID. All right, so that looks good like that. Let's come down here, and we'll go interface, and we'll just have a little interface for the props that we're going to be passing in here, and they're going to have an ID, number, and we will have name, and that's going to be a string, and avatar, and that's going to be a string, and we are going to be passing these in from I think our profile or the single user query. So we'll pass those in from there. So make sure we do that here as our props. So we're going to go ID, name, and avatar. Okay, and then below here, come in and let's do our query here. So same as always, const, and we'll call follow, and that's going to be equal to use mutation, and we will pass in our follow user query like that. Okay, and then we also want to pass in here a refetch queries. And we want to pass in here an array of the objects we want to use. So an array, and then we're going to have some objects here, or just one for us. But we say query, and then we will say me underscore query. That's coming from profile. All right, so that is good for that. Let's come down below here, and we're just going to have a function that says handle follow const handle follow. And that's going to be async, and we are going to go like this, arrow function, and we're going to await follow, and then pass in here the different variables that we want to pass in. So for us, that's going to be follow ID, and that's going to be ID, and then we have name, and we have avatar. And those are all the different stuff that we want to pass in. So those are looking good. Make sure we bring all this in. So command dot, we want to bring in use mutation. These we haven't passed in yet. That's why we're getting a red squiggly yet, but we will. And now let's come down here and just pass in. I'm just going to paste in this button that we want to use. Let's go here and paste this in. All right, so that's the button here. It's just going to have a handle follow and then some styling with the edit button. So we can go ahead and save that. Okay, so that's good. Now let me show you something real quick on what we want to be doing here. So we want to be able to click on this and go not to the tweet, but to the actual user that tweeted it. So right now, if we click on either, that's going to happen. But we want to click on this and go to that, and that is where we're going to actually follow the user. So we want that capability. So what we're going to do is come into our pages here, new file here, and we're going to say single user.tsx. Okay, and then let's copy over profile here because we're going to have the same styling and everything from that. So copy that over, paste that in there, and we will adjust accordingly from here. So let's start changing this over. So first, let's get rid of this single user and make sure we come down to the bottom and export it as single user as well. User. Okay, that's looking good. And we want to use a couple things. We're going to use this use history, but we're also going to use the other thing from React Router DOM, which is the use params. So I think we use that in single tweet. So come over to your single tweet here. Let's scroll up a bit. And yeah, so we want to copy, we can copy this over here. So copy that, come in here, and we'll just paste this below, because we're going to get the ID from that. And then we want to come up here. Let's copy this interface over as well, because we'll use that same thing. No use retyping it out. Okay, paste that in there. Okay, so that is going to be good. Make sure we bring this in, use params, and make sure that's closed off there. Okay, that's looking good. Now, what we got to do is get a different query here. So let's come over here. We can just get rid of this. And actually, why don't we copy that same kind of query and work off this, because this will be more similar to what we need. So copy this over. Then we're not typing it all out again. We can just adjust. So paste that in there. And then let's get rid of everything other than the base query, and we'll just go from there. So I think we might need one more here. Okay, that looks good. So what we're going to do here is called user. And then we're going to pass in the ID. The int's going to be the same. And then down here again, user. ID and int, that'll be the same. And we have ID, and then we're going to have the name and profile. And from the profile, we want the ID, the avatar, and actually, I think that's it. Website, I guess we got to. All right, go ahead and save that. And I just realized we haven't actually done our query to get the user. So let's come over here and go back into our backend real quick and go into query. And down here, let's just copy this down. Okay, that looks good. And then we're just gonna come in here and get our actual user query. I thought we had done that, but apparently not. So user, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go user. And then nullable, that's true, that's good. Arg, that's fine, that's all fine. We're gonna say user.find1, just like that, and where ID is the number and ID that we're passing in. So that can all stay the same. So go ahead and save that and restart your backend again, as we've been doing. All right, get rid of that. We get out of there and come back in, and now we should be able to do a user query like that. Okay, so we want to change this name over to user_query. That's good, and then copy this down and paste it into here where we're calling the query. That looks good. The other thing we want to do in here, so come here and we're going to go our second argument because we want to refetch again. So variables. And that's going to be ID. And we're going to parse this as an int because it's going to come in as a string, remember, from our params. Our param type is going to be a string. So parse int and then pass in the ID that we are getting from our params here. Actually, let's bring this up. Get this before that. There we go. Now it all makes sense. All right, so we have the query over in all tweets, I think, that we want. So come in here into all tweets here and come up a little bit here. And we want this me query here. So let's just copy this over here and we can just paste that in back in our single user. So come in here and we will paste that below here. Okay, so then we're getting all this. We got to bring this in. Make sure we do that. That is looking pretty good. All right, so now let's come below here, get a little room going here, and we're gonna have an interface, and it is gonna say what? It'll say follower IDs, because we gotta get all the follower IDs for something. So say follow ID, and that's gonna be a number. And then we are gonna have ID, and that's gonna be a number. Okay, and then below this, we're gonna have a few things. The first thing is we are gonna try to get all the follower IDs separate them out. So then we can check if we're already following them and whatnot. And the other one we're going to pass in as well to see, or to add that user's ID to our following list. So I'm going to write these out and then we'll keep moving. All right, so these are the three different things we're going to use. The ID of the followers, we're going to get the follows, and then we are going to get follow IDs by filtering through it. I'm getting a little lazy, but this is dragging on, so we're just going to go any right now. And then follow ID, if it's equal to the user ID, that will return, otherwise it will not. So that should just be a single person. All right, so this will come a little more clear when we're using these later on. But let's continue on down here. All right, so this is from our profile component. Remember, we just copied the whole thing over. So right now we have an update profile and a create profile, and we are gonna change this over. So initially, we are just gonna have our follow user here. Follow user, bring that in. And then on the follow user, we want to pass in these different things, remember. So we'll have ID, and that is going to be coming from data.user.id. Close that off. And then we are going to have the name, and that's going to be equal to data.user.name. And then finally, we are going to have avatar, and then that is going to be equal to data.user.profile. Avatar, and then close that off. Okay, so these are the things that we need. Make sure you pass those in, and you can go ahead and save that. And then hopefully on our follow user over here, we have done this, but let's pass in this as props. All right, and then that takes care of the error there as these are being passed in. Now let's hopefully save this and go check this out. Okay, so what we want to do is be able to click on this and then go to our particular user. However, we haven't added that yet, so let's come in here. Let's go over to all tweets. Scroll down a little bit until until content, the author name. So we want to come in here, and we are just going to go below this, and we are going to say link. We're going to say link, bring that in, and then that is going to be 2. And we're going to go backticks, and we'll go /user /$, and we are going to put in tweet.author.id. Okay. And that is all for that. And then we want to come down just below the name after this H4 right here. And let's close that off. And make sure we close this off. Okay. All right, so that's going to direct us to our particular user that we want. However, we actually haven't added that to our app.tsx. So remember how we did this with the single tweet? We're going to do the exact same thing, except for we are going to say user here. So get rid of that and say user, and then come down here and say single user and make sure we bring that in. All right, so auto import that, go ahead and save that. Okay, so we ran into a little issue here. However, what we were doing wrong is we had not added the following query to our profile where we're bringing in the me query, right? So down here when we're going and doing this, we can bring these back in. It was giving us a little bit of error, but that's okay because we can just add it here. All right, so come over to your profile here, above your like tweets here, come in here, and we're gonna say following, capital F there, and we are gonna go ID, follow ID, and we're gonna go name, and we are gonna go avatar. Not avatar URL, just avatar. Okay, so once you have that, go ahead and save that, and that should take care of that error for us. Then come back over to our single user here. Make sure we have these written down correctly. and get rid of this console.log for now, and we can save that. Now, let's go over and check this out. All right, so we still got an error. We haven't finished, I just realized, switching any of this stuff over. So right now we have data.me.name, but we actually want data.user.name. All these me's are going to be basically users. So we can go data.user.profile, data.here, user.profile.avatar, keep it going down here. Basically, all of these me's are going to be users. So here we have all these me's you want to switch over. So user, here's user. What else? Data.me, user. Basically every place, even here in the link, user. Is that it? Sure, I'm missing something here. Anyways, let's check it out, see if that works. Refresh. And now we have our user. So that looks good. We have our follow button. We can go ahead and do that. Click that. And we're not changing anything, but nothing seemed to break. So that's a good sign. So now let's come back and we will add an unfollow button. So we got our follow user here. Let's copy this over. Command A that. And then we will come in here into our components, new file, and we're just going to call it unfollow user.tsx. Okay, and we can paste this in here. Paste that in. Okay, and then change this over to unfollow user. All right, and in the unfollow user, we're not going to need all this. We're just going to need the one ID. So we'll pass that in. We can get rid of this here. That looks good. We can get rid of this in this. Good. Change this to, what did I say, delete user? What do we say in our mutation? Let's check that out real quick. Our bottom delete follow is what that's called. So delete follow. And we want to paste that in for a few other things here. So delete follow there. This can stay. This we want to go paste that in. Paste that in there. Paste that in there. Basically everywhere. And then we can get rid of all these. And we can get rid of all these. And this will just be ID. All of these places. Okay, so that looks pretty good, I think. Delete follow, we got our ID, we got our int, it's required still, that looks good. And then we can just say delete here, underscore follow user query. Okay, and then we can copy that over, boom, paste it in there. That's looking good. And we still want to refetch the me query. And then come down here and we'll just say handle unfollow, just like that. And I think other than this, we want to go ID, and again we wanted to parse that as an int because it'll be a string otherwise. All right, and then handle unfollow like that. And we can say here unfollow. Make that a capital. All right, go ahead and save that. The ID here, we're not passing it in yet, and that's why, oh, actually, no, sorry, this should be a string because it's going to be passed in as a string. So that should do that, and that's why we're parsing the int. Okay, good. Save that. And then we're going to come back. That's all we need for that. So you can get rid of that. The all tweets, you can get rid of that. The single user is where we want to be. So we're going to make use of some of this now. So come down here. Right now we just have the follow user here, but if we've already followed, we want to show kind of an unfollow button instead. So that's where we're going to be using the unfollow user. All right, so we're going to do a ternary here. So let's go ID of followers like that. And then we're going to say dot includes. We'll check if it's included. and we will say data.user.id. Okay, and we'll do a ternary here and open this up, and then in here we will say unfollow follow user and bring that in. And then we want to pass in here, let's close this off first, and then we want to pass in the ID. Now this ID is going to be equal to get follow ID at the first, there's only going to be one, but at the 0th index, and the ID of that, and that is going to be how we're going to do that there. Okay, so go ahead and save that, and then we want to come down, bring this down, and in here we're going to go like this, and then we want to bring this down like this and save that. All right, so we're checking if the single user ID is included in the ID of followers, which we did above. And if it is, then we will show this, the unfollow user. And if it isn't, meaning we haven't followed them already, we'll show this follow user. So let's just check this out real quick. All right, so we're back here on this one, and now the unfollow is showing, so that's good. And if we click on this, we're now unfollowed, and we can follow again and unfollow. So that works great. That is looking very good. Now we have two more things we want to do here. So one is in our profile here, we want to show all the liked tweets that we have liked below here. And then finally, I think we want to show our followers in some sort of modal. So let's start with the liked tweets, and I'm going to kind of really speed through this because this is getting too long. So let's come in here, come into your components here, new file, and say liked tweets.tsx. Okay, and then we can just go RFC, functional component like tweets, and we want to come up above here, come down here. I'm just going to paste in a few things because just of time here. Okay, so we have our all tweets here that we're pasting in here. We're going to use that. And then we are going to come down here, and we're going to actually be passing in all our like tweets. So we're going to go tweets. We're going to paste in all tweets there. Okay. So that is good. All right. And then come back over into our profile first, and we're going to say like tweet. We have this, and we're going to add a few things to this query because this is what we're going to be passing in. So we got our tweet ID. We're going to go content. We're going to go created at there. We're going to go author, and we're going to go ID, name, profile. And then from the profile, we're going to have ID and avatar. And this way, we can just pass everything on from this one query. Obviously, this is a pretty huge query, so you might not actually want to do this in real time, but for our purposes, this should be okay. All right, and then actually we want to pass it in down here. So we actually want to come down below. All right, so above this here in our liked tweets, right above the right here actually. So come here and we'll say what liked tweets. Like tweets, bring that in, and we are just going to call it tweets, and that'll be equal to data.me, and we're just going to pass the entire thing in there. Okay, so go ahead and save that. Come back over here. We got some sort of issue here, so let's actually just say any for now. See if that fixes it. We gotta close this off. Okay, so this is good. Save that, and then come back over to the liked tweets here. Now, I think I'm just going to paste in the markup, and we'll just go over it because, yeah, time. All right, so I just pasted this in. So we're passing in all of our liked tweets here, and that's from profile. That's why we went back and we did this here, got all our liked tweets. So we're passing that in, and we're going to go tweets.tweet. I think this is actually like tweet, not likes, right? Or tweets, right? Liked, yeah. So make sure that is tweet and not tweets. Okay, and then we have our all tweets here. We're just putting any because I don't want to type that out right now. And yeah, we got our profile, all this different stuff. So hopefully that's good. We're going to map over them, and we're going to put in our avatar, and basically a link to the actual user. So hopefully that's good. We're using the format distance from datafns, same thing to get when it was created at, and that is about it. And then the content of the tweet. So go ahead and save that. All right, and then we got to like some tweets here because we haven't actually liked anything. So like a couple of these, and then hopefully those will show up. And if we come back to our profile, now these are our liked tweets. All right, so that works great. Okay, so one last thing. I want our following here to actually show the users that we're following. So that's going to be the last thing that we're going to do. All right, so come over here and we're going to go components, new file, and we'll say following .tsx like this. And let's get a base here. So let's come over to tweet.tsx here and just copy this over because we're going to want to use the modal for this. So that will be something somewhat similar. All right, so paste that in there. Tweet, get rid of that and say following. Okay, that looks good. And then we just want to go through and change these up a little bit. So we don't need a lot of this stuff. We don't need this. We don't need any initial values. We use the modal stuff, but we don't need any of this formic. So basically get rid of all that formic there. Okay, we're going to use this still for that. And then instead of this button here, I'm going to paste this in and we're just going to say follow and then the data, which we're going to check or add in a second, .me.following.length. So just how many people we're following there. Now let's add this up here. So we don't need this create tweet. We can get rid of that. Come down below and in here, fix this up a little bit. I'm just going to paste this in and we're just going to get the me query, bring in use query. And yeah, that is looking good. So I think that's the same. Yeah, we already had that query, so that'll work well. Okay, and we don't need any of this here. So get rid of that. All right, now for our actual, what we want to paste in here, I think we can copy that over from all tweets maybe actually, because that might be a little bit similar to that. So, all right, so we're just going to copy over this here. So come the tweet header here, and we'll get the content up until this point. So let's copy that. Then let's come over to our following here. All right, and then I'm gonna come in here and just paste this in, speed this up a little bit. And we can, let's close this, give ourselves some room here. Okay. Make sure we bring in links here. That's looking good, save that. Okay, so what we got here is our modal, and when we press on the length of the following, how many people we're following, it's going to open up, and we are going to have a little bit of styling here, and then we're going to go through all of the people that we're following and just display them basically. And then when we click on one of those people, it's going to link us to that person by the follower ID. So let's check this out. Hopefully that's good. We got a little styling here. Light gray is a border bottom there. What else? I think that's mostly it. All right, so now we want to bring this in. So come into our profile here, scroll down to here, followers or following, and we want to add this as our following. So get rid of this here, and we are going to say following. And bring that in and close it off and save it. Now let's come back. All right, so it's showing we're only following one user, and when we click on this, it's going to bring up that user, so that works great. Let's come back over and we can click on another user here, and we want to say follow, so that'll follow them, and then come over to our profile, and now it says we're following two. And it shows both of those users. And then again, we can click on that actual user and I'll bring it to them. So I think that's working pretty good. Perfect. All right, guys, I think we will leave it right there. There's a ton more stuff you can do. Obviously, this is just a tiny bit of the functionality of real Twitter, but what can you expect? We're not going to build this in a few sessions. So yeah, if you like the video, go ahead and subscribe or give it a like. And yeah, until the next one. Thanks for watching.